You know what the funny thing is? Know what? The Penguins just lost to the same team that was still unbeaten when they first met earlier this year. Yeah, okay. Well, you got to give them credit. The Penguins did manage a goal. Yeah, but last time they managed 3 goals. Well, however you look at it. My name is Scott McGregor. All right, Penguins fans, let's talk Penguins and Jets. Pens and Jets. Now, on Penguins postgame, let's roll. You're locked in to Penguins hockey on the Sports for Beginners podcast. Sidney Crosby and the Penguins play here on the Sports for Beginners podcast. Hey, Showtime scores! The bingo game is ready to roll. Welcome to Penguins postgame. PPG for PGH. And you'd have to be here to believe it. Here is your host, Scott McGregor. The Pittsburgh Penguins fall 4-1 to the Winnipeg Jets, who are the number 1 team in the National Hockey League. The Jets' record right now is at an impressive 17-3-0, moving to about, I believe, maybe 18-3-0. You want to know what the funny thing is? Besides my little role play I did there? The Penguins are now going to be 7-11-4 when they play the Utah Hockey Club this coming Saturday, tomorrow night. Well, we'll talk about that more in a bit. But the funny thing is, the Winnipeg Jets, who are now 17-3, yeah, that's right, that's what they were going over to, 17-3 this season, 17-3-0 this season. They got to go play the Nashville Predators. Seems like an easy win, right? Well, we're going to find that out, I'm sure, on Saturday when Thomas is in the studio to bring you that game. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Penguins Postgame. My name is Scott McGregor. Only one more game on tap tonight, but we are not going to focus on that because by the time you listen to this show, that game will be final. But that is the Ducks and the Sabres. So we are going to focus on the Penguins and the Jets. This time our venue is PPG Paints Arena, and our head coaches, as usual, Mike Sullivan for the Pittsburgh Penguins and Scott Arnell for the Winnipeg Jets. To Brian Metzer's point, or Joe Brand's point, because I listened to a little bit of the beginning of that post-game show, Scott Arnell was a guy that when the Jets put him in the head coaching area, a lot of people were rolling their eyes or rolling their heads around and being like, are they going to roll the dice with Scott Arnell? We'll talk about him a little bit more on another episode of Sports for Beginners, but this is an episode dedicated to our Penguins postgame show. So, without further ado, last time the Penguins played the Jets, it was Eric Comrie. He got the backup job this time to Connor Hellebuyck, who would get the start for the Winnipeg Jets. Joel Blomqvist got the backup duty for Pittsburgh in last night's game, or last meeting this season, which was on October 20th, 2024. Sorry about that. I mixed that up. The last time these two teams met, that was in Canada Life Center on October 20th, a Sunday. Alex Nedeljkovic got the start. Tonight, however, Alex Nedeljkovic in at the backup for Pittsburgh, and the goaltender is Tristan Jarry. Tristan Jarry versus Connor Hellebuyck is the matchup we would get tonight. So, with that being said, that is our matchup for PPG Paints Arena tonight on this Friday night between the Penguins and the Jets. We're going to break down all the scoring, all that stuff coming up in just a moment. But first, let's take a quick word from our friends over at Sienna T Radio as we take a quick break. And while we take a quick break, I would like to let you guys know about a book launch that is happening tomorrow. And by the time you hear this episode of Penguins Postgame, it will have launched. My good friend Melanie Taddeo and a bunch of other people have gotten together, a bunch of other women, six other women to be honest, or 5 other women to be honest, along with Melanie, are about to launch a book they titled "And the Whole World Stopped It." The book launch is happening on Zoom at 1 p.m. until 3 p.m. But I'm not going to spoil too much, but it happens tomorrow. And I'll probably be talking about my takeaways from that on the next episode of Penguins Postgame, if I get an opportunity to do so. What I will tell you right now is that I am very happy for Melanie and very, very happy to be a part of such an exceptional person's journey. And Melanie, of course, is the author of My Unforeseen Journey, a book that she began by herself. Maybe I might want to start a book, Melanie. Maybe I might want to start a book, Melanie. I mean, doing the podcast is fun, but maybe I might want to start a book. All things considered, we got to talk about our matchup tonight inside PPG Paints Arena. The Penguins coming off of a loss. We recap that loss for you. And if you haven't already, please go check that out. We are moving away. We are moving in the timeline to try to get that to you. Or in this case, have you guys have a chance to listen to it. All right. Let's take a break and hear a word from our good friends over at Sienna T Radio. And after this word, we'll break down this 4-1 loss to Winnipeg. And perhaps off the top of the show, I should say off the top of our breakdown, which will be in parts, it'll be a goal scorers and penalty takers version that we're going to get into. But we'll talk about that in a minute or so when we come back. But just to let everyone know, we're going to take a break for a word from Sienna T Radio, making your day brighter one song at a time. And after that break, we might jump into the schedule for Sienna T Radio. That's Sienna T Radio. And we might jump into that when we continue on Penguins Postgame in just a moment. Penguins Postgame will return in just a moment, right after this from Sienna T Radio. Stay with us.
Sienna T Radio will never give you up. They will never let you down, nor will they run around or desert you. So join Nick Astley for The Melting Pot every Saturday on Sienna T Radio. Hang on a minute. He's not Nick Astley. Oh, jings, I've done it wrong. Anyway, just join Nick for The Melting Pot on Sienna T Radio.
Thank you very much, Nick, and thank you very much to Ali for providing us with some of these amazing ads that Nick and Ali and Sienna have put together. You can catch Nick every Saturday morning on Sienna T Radio, unless Sienna T Radio is going on break for a little bit, in which case Nick or Samantha or even Robert can't make it in to do their programs. So we'll see. But anyways, catch Nick every Saturday morning on Sienna T Radio at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, 10:30 a.m. Central Time. Of course, 4:30 p.m. UK time, 5:30 p.m. in France. Once again, that's Nick on in the UK at 4:30 p.m., 5:30 p.m. in France, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, 10:30 a.m. Central Time. All right. So with that being said, I would get into the rest of the schedule for Sienna T Radio. But we'd be here all day. So let's jump right in to how this game between the Pens and the Jets went down. All right, here we go. In the first period, we're going to start with the goal scorers. So in the first period, Nino Niederreiter finds the goal for the first goal of the game. his 8th goal of the season, unassisted, and it only took him a minute 22 seconds to score. He backhands this by Tristan Jarry, and it's 1-0. It's 1-0, I should say. Jets over Pittsburgh. Well, we kind of seen this story before, but we'll talk about that a little bit more in a bit. But anyways, in the second period, we saw scores from VN, I should say, a birthday boy, Vladis Namestenkov. I'll just say VN, excuse me. Yeah, we'll just go with VN. He gets his 6th goal of the season, assisted by Nikolai Ehlers. Ehlers is 14th assist of the season. The Penguins take a costly penalty, which we'll talk about when we get to penalty takers in a minute or two. But we want to go over our scoring first. And because they do that, Gabriel Velarde picks up his 8th goal of the season, a PPG for WPG. That's a PPG for WPG, which is the short form for Winnipeg. Kyle Connor on the assist, his 13th of the season. And Josh Morrissey on the assist as well, his 18th of the season. Time of the goal, 19 minutes, 1 second. And of course, time of the VN goal on his birthday, 4 minutes and 53 seconds in. After one period of play, Winnipeg is up 1-0. After 2 periods of play, Winnipeg is up 3-0 on Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh still without a score. We talked about Pittsburgh taking a costly penalty, as I call it, in the second period. Well, in the third period, Winnipeg did the exact same thing, and Michael Bunting made them pay for it. He puts in his 4th goal of the season, a power play goal, PPG for PGH, at 5 minutes and 49 seconds in. On the assist, Brian Rust, his 3rd of the season. And Evgeny Malkin picks up his 15th assist of the season. And the Penguins are on the board. It's 3-1 in favor of Winnipeg. So they're not exactly... The Penguins are not exactly down by 3 goals again, but shouldn't have said that because Mike Sullivan decides, well, we're down by 2. I'm going to go ahead and pull Jarry. And that's what he said, and that's what he did. He pulled Tristan Jarry, I should say. And as a result, Kyle Connor puts in his 13th goal of the season. Late in the period, with Cole Perfetti on the assist, his 10th of the season, and Mark Scheifele picking up his 13th assist of the season. And this empty net goal by Kyle Connor sealed the deal and sealed our final score at 4-1 in favor of the Winnipeg Jets. All right. Time now for another quick timeout. When we come back, who took a penalty in this game for the Jets and the Pens? We'll find out that and touch back on the penalties that led to power play goals for both Pittsburgh and Winnipeg. We'll touch on those in just a moment when we continue on Penguins postgame, plus the shots on goal tally and other game stats before we take one final break, get into the 3 stars of the game. And due to time constraints, we are just going to go to our main feature, the shake of the game, after the 3 stars of the game and the play of the game, which follow the next break that we will take after the penalty takers and, of course, we will get you into when we do the penalty takers, we will get you into the game stats, including the shot total and much more. So stay with us when Penguins postgame continues in just a moment.
Take another look with Gerda Felix and Melanie Taddeo Malo, two powerful women of diverse backgrounds having genuine, unique, and uncomfortable conversations that everyone needs to have. Join Melanie and Gerda for conversations about what is missing from human connections.
Looking for conversations on the world of broadcasting, sports media, and from time to time, my favorite sports teams? Listen to Broadcast Map with me, Ali Musa. To learn more about the show and to view the upcoming schedule, like the Broadcast Map Facebook page. Search Broadcast Map.
The Penguins fall 4-1 to the Winnipeg Jets, and the Winnipeg Jets sweep the season series, winning both games, I should say, on October the 20th in Winnipeg. That was a Sunday when we had double trouble. That's right, we had a double trouble on Sports for Beginners at this time. Kind of feels like, because we're in a back-to-back, kind of feels like we're doing double trouble for the Penguins, because we get to see them take on Utah tomorrow night. I'm saying that because we're recording this on Friday night. It is now 10:15 p.m. Eastern Time, which means it's also 9:15 p.m. Central Time. But anyways, it is time for our penalty takers. And let's not waste any time and get right to it as we continue breaking down the Penguins' 4-1 loss to the Winnipeg Jets. First up, the first period, as always. So, in the first period, VN took the game's first penalty. VN took the game's first penalty. That's VN. He took the first penalty of the game at 10 minutes and 44 seconds in. VN's penalty was called for 2 minutes for slashing. And again, that's the birthday boy that the old 2-9er Phil Borg mentioned on the radio broadcast. VN is the recipient of the first penalty of the game, meaning Pittsburgh will go to the game's first power play of the game at 10 minutes and 44 seconds. Penguins unable to connect on that power play. But also, the Penguins take a penalty later at 16 minutes and 47 seconds as Jesse Puljujarvi is called for a 2-minute minor for holding the stick. I'm just going to say holding the stick because the holding call, really? Do we have to call it holding? Can we just say holding the stick? Or whatever you want to call it? You know what? It is what it is. Anyways, it's a holding call against Jesse Puljujarvi. And Winnipeg has the game's second power play of the night, but the first power play of the game for them at that point in time. To the second period we go, and Winnipeg gets the only power play of the period as Evgeny Malkin goes late in the period. Evgeny Malkin goes late in the period for tripping against Gabriel Vilardi. Gabriel Vilardi is a recipient of an Evgeny Malkin tripping minor at 18 minutes and 45 seconds in. That's 18 minutes and 45 seconds in. And that leads us to the third and final period. That's coming up in just a moment. But here we go. Sidney Crosby. Well, let's just say Crosby was called 2 minutes for cross-checking. That had to be served by Michael Bunting. At 38 seconds in, also at that time, to the third period. Crosby was assessed a 5-minute major for fighting against Kyle Connor, who would receive the exact same penalty around that timeline. A little later, Winnipeg taking 2 more penalties, first at 4:29, first at the 4 minutes and 29 second mark. And that goes to Alex Iafallo. I'll just say Alex I. If I pronounced it wrong, Alex, I apologize. If I pronounced your last name wrong, I apologize. 2 minutes for tripping for him. And this is the penalty in which Michael Bunting said, okay, that's enough. We are not going to be shut out by the Winnipeg Jets. Not in this game. Not in this one. Not in this game. Bunting pretty much said, okay, that's enough. Let's make sure we're on the board here so at least we don't lose by... I mean, we were already down by 3, but let's make sure we don't lose by 4. And to top it all off, get shut out. Which is what they did. Or which is what they did not do. They did not get shut out. Which is good. But I really think the Penguins should have been more careful staying out of the penalty box. Anyways, Cole Perfetti picks up a penalty as well. This one is a 2-minute minor for interference at 10 minutes and 19 seconds. Speaking of 10:19, especially if you look at a clock, it is now 10:21 p.m. Eastern Time, which means it is 9:21 p.m. Central Time. It is 9:21 p.m. Central Time. It is 10:20. Make that 9:22 p.m. Central Time. And 10:22 p.m. Eastern Time. But that brings us to the end of our penalty takers. Shots on goal, I would love to go through them by period, but we would be here all night. So we're not going to do that. The final total of shots on goal tonight at PPG Paints Arena was 30-18 in favor of the Winnipeg Jets. The Winnipeg Jets also won 32 out of 63 face-offs in this game tonight. The Pittsburgh Penguins kept that close, but not close enough. Not close enough. I mean, it kind of looks close enough, but the face-off percentage says otherwise. The Penguins won 31 out of 63 face-offs. The Jets won 32 out of 63 face-offs in this game. The Jets finished with a face-off percentage of 50.8%. 49.2% is what the Pittsburgh Penguins would finish off with for tonight. Both penalty kills end the night 2 for 3 on the penalty kill. That's for Pittsburgh and for Winnipeg. Both penalty kills for Pittsburgh and Winnipeg end the night. They end the night 2 for 3 on the penalty kill. On the power play, meanwhile, the power plays end the night for both teams 1 for 3 on the evening. Which I guess is okay, because at least you scored 1 goal in 3 opportunities, but you could have scored 2 more. If you could have scored like maybe, I don't know, you could have scored, I guess, 2 goals out of 3. Make sure the penalty kill only kills off 1 penalty. We'll see. In the end, the penalty minutes all even at 11 minutes each. Each team, both Pittsburgh and the Jets, they both spent 11 minutes in the penalty box tonight at PPG Paints Arena in Pittsburgh. The Penguins may have been outshot by the Jets, but they out-hit the Jets 29-11. 29-11, I should say. We were all even at blocked shots at 14 apiece. 14 for the Jets, 14 for the Penguins. And speaking of that, the Penguins kind of own the giveaways here at 14-18, but really the Jets own the giveaways, giving the puck away. They gave the puck away 18 times. Pittsburgh only gave it away 14 times. Pittsburgh owns the takeaway category with 6 takeaways over Winnipeg, who finishes with 5. The Jets finish with 5 takeaways, 18 giveaways, 14 block shots, 11 hits, and the rest is pretty much history. Pittsburgh finishing beside the shots on goal with 11 penalty minutes, 29 hits, 14 blocked shots, 14 giveaways, 6 takeaways, but the rest is kind of history. All right. With that said, we are now about 30 minutes into the program. Well, actually, we're about 32 as I'm recording here. We're about 32 minutes in. We'll see. But anyways, we are nearing the end of the program here. So coming up next are 3 stars of the game. And of course, we're going to do the shake of the game. But right before we take this break, as we also prepare to get you ready for what's next for the Penguins and what's next for the Jets. We know that they won't meet each other anymore. We'll do all that in a little bit, but what I want to do right now before we take the break is I want to give you my play of the game. And if you want to get in on the action for the play of the game, I said the play of the game. I should have said the play of the game because it said player of the game. Sorry about that. I want to give you the play of the game. If you want to get in on the action for the play of the game, the shake of the game, 3 stars of the game, and of course, the game puck of the game, go on over to our Discord server under Penguins Post-Game Show Interactions. That's Penguins Post-Game Show Interactions, where you can send all that stuff to me, or you can send me an email at sportsforbeginners podcast8231@gmail.com. Again, that's sportsforbeginners podcast 8231@gmail.com. Again, sportsforbeginners podcast 8231@gmail.com. All right. And make sure you use subject 3 stars of the game, play of the game, shake of the game puck of the game, depending on what you are sending a submission for. All right. That all said and done, let's take the break. When we come back, since I took a while to run over that, when we come back, we'll do the play of the game. And then we'll get you to the 3 stars of the game. And I'll give you my Winnipeg and Pittsburgh shake of the game recipients. Plus, we'll discuss Sidney Crosby or in this case, we'll discuss when Sid can possibly hit 600 goals in his career. He didn't hit the milestone tonight. Maybe he'll hit it tomorrow. He didn't hit the milestone tonight, but maybe he'll hit it tomorrow night against Utah. We don't know. We won't know until we hit triple zeros tomorrow in PPG Paints Arena. Back with more and wrapping up in a little bit. When we return, stay with us. Hi, everyone. Scott McGregor here. Oh, what's that? What's that? Do you hear what I hear? Do you hear what I hear? Come out and join us for the Season 3 Sports for Beginners Christmas Party Finale this December on Sports for Beginners. We'll talk about everything from our top 10 episodes, our podcast wrap up, a little bit of sports talk mixed in. Plus, I would love to know what your favorite holiday traditions are. So come on out and join us. Come on out and join us. Actually, better than that, come spend the holidays with us here on Sports for Beginners. It's certainly going to be a great show. That's Sports for Beginners Season 3 Finale Christmas Party Extravaganza coming this December on Sports for Beginners. It will be a pre-recorded program, so make sure you tune in. And if you'd like to be involved, send an email to sportsforbeginners podcast8231@gmail.com. Happy holidays, everybody! From all of us here at Sports for Beginners. Looking for a good hockey podcast that covers your favorite hockey teams and mine? Check out On the Ice and Behind the Benches, where we chat about our favorite hockey teams from puck drop to the last play of the action. To learn more, follow the On the Ice and Behind the Benches Facebook page. Search On the Ice and Behind the Benches. So no milestone for Sidney Crosby tonight, but he has an opportunity to do it tomorrow night and grab that 600 goal milestone tomorrow night against Utah. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But before we get down to that, and before we start wrapping this up, it's time to get down to the main features, the meat and potatoes of our program here As I said off the top, we're only going to do one main feature for this show, and that's the shake of the game. That's coming up in a couple minutes' time. In a few minutes' time, I should say. But I ran out of time to give you the play of the game in the last segment, so we're going to start off with that. And my play of the game is going to go to Michael Bunting, who scored on the power play after chaos ensued in the third period. And to Joe to Joe and Phil and everyone at Penguins postgames, not Penguin postgame, at Penguins live postgame, I should say, for Brian Metzer and Paul Staggerwald, which, by the way, you can catch them on the air tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. But to Mets, Joe and Phil and Paul's point, it was kind of a little bit too little too late after the Penguins scored a goal early on in the third period when they really should have started scoring earlier in the game. But a win is a win and a loss is a loss. So tonight the Penguins fell once again to the Winnipeg Jets. And now here comes the Utah Hockey Club. Thomas will have you for that show. But as we are about to start wrapping up, we're going to get to that in just a moment. My play of the game belongs to Michael Bunting. And Thomas, if you have any, and I mean any, plays that you think deserve to be a play of the game, shoot me an email right now at sportsforbeginnerspodcast 8231@gmail.com. If you don't have Discord and use subject play of the game. All right. With that being said, let's jump right in. Let's jump right in to tonight's 3 stars of the game. No surprise, they're all Winnipeg Jets. Your 3rd star tonight is number 7, VN. He has the 1st star, the 3rd star, I should say. A goal, no assist, 1 point. Also on the 3 stars, because VN is the 3rd star. Your 2nd star tonight is Gabriel Velarde. 1 goal, 1 point, no assists. And your 1st star tonight is Kyle Connor. A goal, an assist. A goal, 1 assist, I should say. And 2 points. So to reiterate, Kyle Connor, Gabriel Velarde, and VN are the 3 stars of this hockey game. If you think it could have done better in selection, send me an email at sportsforbeginnerspodcast8231@gmail.com. Or if you're on Discord, hit me up at Penguins post-game show interactions on Discord. And with that being said, let's move on to the shake of the game, our main feature of the program. So, with without further ado, who is my Winnipeg recipient of the shake of the game? Tonight, my Winnipeg recipient of the shake of the game is going to go to Dylan DeMello. Didn't score a goal, didn't get. It's going to go to Dylan DeMello. He didn't score a goal in this game, didn't score an assist, which doesn't count as points. But damn, was he good tonight. +2 on the ice for 24 minutes and 28 seconds, 29 shifts in total, 2 shots on goal, 1 hit, a giveaway, and a takeaway. All right. I'm going to go with Dylan DeMello. I would normally go to the goaltenders, but I'm going to go to Dylan DeMello. I know Dylan DeMello didn't do much. But hey, I thought Dylan DeMello played really, really well tonight. And now for my Pittsburgh shake of the game recipient. But just to remind everybody, a close second to me was Connor Hellebuyck. Hellebuyck played really, really nice tonight, and I do like the fact of how he started this game. Could have been a little bit better in the rest of the hockey game, but still backstop the Jets to get the Jets, backstop the Penguins to get the Jets the W. And with that, let's move on to Pittsburgh. For me tonight, I'm going to give it to Sidney Crosby. But why would I give it to Sid? Why would I give it to Sid? Is it because he didn't get the milestone? Is it because he didn't score a goal or didn't score an assist? Why am I giving it to Sid? He didn't do much. Not to mention he spent 7 minutes in the penalty box. Well, it's because he spent 7 minutes in the penalty box that this is a pick-me-up shake of the game for me, for Sid. Yes, he didn't score a goal. Yes, he didn't get an assist. But even though he spent 7 minutes in the penalty box, he still got this crowd rowdy, and then Michael Bunting, as I mentioned before, put the Penguins on the board with the only goal for the game. A power play goal by Bunting, his 4th of the season. Just to check that out, just to make sure I have that correct. Yes, Bunting's 4th of the season. That's right. All right. Well, so it's going to be Sid, but I'm going to go with a close second being Tristan Jarry. You got to give Tristan Jarry some credit. Listen, I know that I know that everybody who has been down on Tristan Jarry, everyone, at times I'm down on Tristan Jarry, but listen, you got to give Tristan Jarry credit. 26 saves. Yes, he gave up 3 goals against, 2 at even strength, 1 on the power play. Yes, he gave up those goals. But he still made, as I said, 26 saves on the 29 shots he faced. And again, I I mentioned the shot total was 30-18. But that's because Tristan Jarry wasn't in net. Tristan Jarry wasn't in net for that 30th shot from Winnipeg because Mike Sullivan pulled him. Because Sullivan pulled him. So because he did that, I'm wondering who's going to start against Utah. Are they going to go back to Tristan? Or are they going to go to Alex? I'd like to think they're going to go back to Alex Nedeljkovic. I would like to think they're going to go back to Nedeljkovic. I don't think Jarry's going to play tomorrow. I don't think Jarry's going to play. I don't think he's going to play. I don't think so. I really don't. But that also raises the question, who's going to start for the Jets against Nashville? Because Connor started against Pittsburgh. Well, that's up to the head coach of the Winnipeg Jets, Scott Arnell. Okay. I'll just say Scott A. Sorry, Scott, if I'm pronouncing your last name wrong. And no, I'm not saying Scott McGregor, because that's me. I'm not there. I'm talking about the Scott that is the head coach of the Winnipeg Jets. All right. But anyways, we have hit the end of the program here. So with the shake of the game going out to Tristan Jarry as a runner-up, and Sidney Crosby as our recipient, as well as Connor Hellebuck, our runner-up and our recipient for the Jets, Dylan DeMello, for the shake of the game. That pretty much brings us to the end of this program. So what's next for Pittsburgh and what's next for Winnipeg? Let's start with what's next for Winnipeg. Obviously, we know tomorrow night they are going head-to-head with the Nashville Predators. But what's coming after the Predators? Well, here's our next five. For the Winnipeg Jets, they'll play the Predators tomorrow in Nashville. They're in Minneapolis to take on the Minnesota Wild on Monday. They'll take on the LA Kings on Wednesday, November 27th, 2024. They'll wrap up November with the Vegas Golden Knights on Friday night. Then they're back in action on December 1st, 2024 in Dallas. So to bring this up here, next five include Nashville, Minnesota, LA, Vegas, and Dallas. And you want to throw the St. Louis Blues in there? Well, that's who they will face back at the Canada Life Center to kick off their December homestand, which will be a one night only before a 4-game homestand with 4 games starting after a back-to-back that begins on Saturday against Chicago in the Windy City, goes into Columbus coming to Winnipeg, Boston coming to Winnipeg, Vegas coming to Winnipeg, Montreal's coming to Winnipeg. The list goes on. Anyways, as I said before, it's Nashville, Minnesota, LA, Vegas, Dallas, and that's it. For their next 5 games. They've got Nashville tomorrow, Minnesota Monday, the Kings on Wednesday, next Friday night, the Golden Knights. Then they've got Dallas on Sunday, December 1st. We're already on the way to December, 2 months in. Wow. You'd be thinking about the trade deadline coming up soon. And the Penguins have already been busy. So I wouldn't mind seeing more trades at the deadline. We'll see. But Kyle Dubas has made it known he does not want to trade Sidney Crosby. So he'll trade anybody else but Sidney. So we will see what Kyle Dubas does as we get on the way over to the trade deadline months. I'm already thinking trade deadline months, but those are still to come. We still got to get to the Four Nations tournament, which is in 3 months from now. Actually, if you think about it, 2 months from now. All right, anyways, we're about to wrap up here. But before we do, next up for Pittsburgh, as obvious, the Utah Hockey Club. As obviously, the Utah Hockey Club are here, I should say, they are here tomorrow to play the Pittsburgh Penguins for the first time this season and the first time in their existence in the National Hockey League. The Penguins will then see the Vancouver Canucks on Wednesday, November 27th. Hoping to get even with the Canucks after losing in Vancouver. Well, they tried to do that with Winnipeg, and look how that turned out against the Jets. Tonight we're hoping we wanted to recap a win. Instead, we're recapping a loss. So, what will the outcome of Vancouver be? I'll be back with you on Wednesday for the recap of that game. So stay tuned for that. Thomas and I will be splitting the next doubleheader after the Utah Hockey Club wrap up this, I should say not doubleheader, this back-to-back. We'll split up that next back-to-back, and I will have you for the game in Pittsburgh, between the Calgary Flames and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Thomas will have you in the Garden when the Penguins battle the Bruins in the Garden. But you know what? Maybe I will take both of those because the games are at different times. So, with that said, the Penguins are into their December schedule as well, as they will play, first off, they will play Utah tomorrow. They'll play Utah tomorrow. They'll play the Canucks on Wednesday. The Bruins on Friday. The Flames on Saturday. Then on Tuesday, December 3rd, Florida's in town for a showdown. And that will lead us to our first back-to-back and only back-to-back of December's schedule, where it will kick off with the New York Rangers. So the next 5 for the Penguins. Hosting Utah tomorrow. Hosting Vancouver Wednesday. At the Bruins Friday. Hosting the Flames on Saturday. They'll host the Flames on... Sorry, not the Flames. They'll host the Panthers, the Florida Panthers, on Tuesday, December 3rd, 2024. And then, of course, the Penguins will face the Rangers once again. This time from the Garden at Madison Square Garden. And then the Leafs are in Pittsburgh on Saturday night, that following night. I'll be back with you after Penguins and the Canucks. But next time on Penguins Postgame, Thomas has you for the inaugural meeting between the Penguins and Utah Hockey Club. The Utah Hockey Club is next time on Penguins Postgame. So I hope to see you then soon. I will hope to see you after Penguins and Canucks. Thomas has you for Utah and Pittsburgh. And I will also look forward to seeing you later after Vancouver and Pittsburgh. And then maybe, unless Thomas and I split it, after Pens, Bruins, and Pens Flames. But be sure to stick to our website and other areas for the latest on that. The Buffalo Bills on the bye week. They're back at it next Sunday, December 1st, 2024. That's when you could expect the next Bills postgame. But as for now, to wrap this up, the Penguins are swept by the Winnipeg Jets in the season series, and the Jets defeat the Penguins 4-1 tonight in PPG Paints Arena. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. Have a great rest of your evening if you're catching this at night or whenever you're catching this at. And I look forward to catching up with you again real soon. Until then, let's go Pens, and we'll see you next time. Ladies and gentlemen, Elvis has just left the building. You've just listened to Pittsburgh Penguins Hockey on the Sports for Beginners podcast. To learn more about the show and to view the upcoming schedule, like the Sports for Beginners Facebook page. Search Sports for Beginners or visit the official Sports for Beginners podcast website. Thanks for listening, and until next time, stay tuned. And remember that it is not goodbye, it is until next time. And you'd have to be here to believe it. Thank you so much for checking in to Penguins postgame this season, Penguins fans. Your host of the Sports for Beginners podcast, Scott McGregor, here. I just wanted to let you guys know that it brings me great joy to bring you a show like the one we brought you last year. And it brings me even more joy with everything that has come out of it as well, as we try to navigate through quite a year with milestone after milestone in the month of October and the month of September. As mentioned, again, my name is Scott McGregor, but if you have any questions, any concerns, any content you want aired on the program, please send me an email at sportsforbeginnerspodcast 8231 at gmail.com. Once again, that's Sports for Beginners Podcast 8231 at gmail.com. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast and for listening to this episode of Penguins Postgame. We will see you next time right here on Sports for Beginners. Thanks so much, and we'll talk to you again soon.